Why we're still having a debate in 2025 of self-publishing versus traditional publishing is beyond me. In this video, I'm going to give my very biased opinion why I believe that self-publishing is the best option for authors of all genres in 2025 and beyond. Argue with your mama, okay? Let's go. I'm Denise Renee, your business book bestie. Here is my signature book, and these are some of my clients. I help professionals write books that make their business, career, or thought leadership brand visible. This video is about self-publishing strategy. So let's jump in. Hey, besties. So I just came across this article on LinkedIn from the Author Marketing Hub, and I thought it was fantastic. I have literally no notes, but we're going to go through this article together because the author just really makes the case for me. Like, I'm just going to be basically being the cheerleader over here. The article is written by Daniel. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. I'm not going to butcher it. All right. Respect to that man's last name. But you see it. Okay. You see his name here, Mr. Daniel. Yeah, Daniel makes an excellent case. I agree with him wholeheartedly. And in fact, let me jump to the bottom here to the comments that I left. And I'll say that the reason that I am going through this is because I don't really teach so much on self-publishing. I am sharing snippets of my self-publishing journey, but I know that this is an important component of writing your book. So I do make videos every now and then specifically about self-publishing. And of course, I do have my Sell Your Book podcast, which has been on hiatus in the year of 2025, but I do plan once my book is fully published to resume recording new episodes in 2026. So no worries, more on that later. But the 13 episodes that are available right now, baby, they are a chef's kiss. So definitely, if you haven't checked out the Sell Your Book podcast episodes, check them out. So many gems, okay? Gems upon gems upon gems. But jumping back into this article, I said, wow, thanks, Daniel, for saying the quiet part out loud. Self-publishing doesn't mean doing everything by yourself. And we will definitely get to that point in as we go through the article. But I also said, self-publishing is more effort, but the profit margins are more rewarding. And you don't have to sell as much as you would with traditional publishing. And again, as we go through the article, Daniel makes this point and you will see the numbers for yourself. But here's the kicker for me. The thing is that you have to be committed to the process and committed to the long-term journey, not just quick viral success. Because I am such a proponent and a believer that you have to own your own stuff. And in this day and age, when you give up too much power and control to some other entity, to some other company, man, you're really setting yourself up for a lot of frustration. No, it's not the fastest route. No, it's not the sexiest route. But like I said right here, last I checked, slow and steady still wins the race. So let's jump back up to the top and let's get into this article. So again, the newsletter is called the Author Marketing Hub. Mr. Daniel over here has a healthy number of subscribers, so kudos on him. And his image here is the only two options to publish your book in 2025. Now, of course, that's traditional or independent. And there are reasons to choose both, but we will see the different pros and cons. And by all means, make the choice that's best for you in your situation and even your individual book. There are some authors who do both independent publishing and traditional publishing for different projects for different reasons. So Daniel starts off and says, after publishing 270 plus books, here's what I learned about maximizing author income and creative freedom, why most authors are leaving money on the table, and how smarter authors are fighting back. When I meet authors at conferences, I always ask them a simple question. What's your publishing endgame? The responses usually fall into two categories. Those hoping to land a traditional book deal and those who've never seriously considered any alternative. Here's what surprises them. After a decade of helping authors navigate the publishing landscape and personally overseeing 270 plus book launches, I've discovered that most authors are unknowingly choosing the path that limits their income, delays their success, and strips away their creative control. The publishing industry's best kept secret. The publishing world wants you to believe that there are dozens of complex paths to getting your book published: traditional, hybrid, subsidy, vanity, boutique. The terminology alone is designed to confuse. But strip away the jargon, and every author faces just two fundamental choices. Path A: hand your manuscript to someone and hope they'll make it successful. Path B: take control of your publishing destiny. Most authors default to Path A without ever exploring what Path B could author them. And just to pause here, I get it, right? We're used to the publishing industry. We're used to that gatekeeping industry. But guess what? They cannot keep up. I mean, I'm going to be honest. It was such a shock to see Borders go out of business a couple of years ago. And I'm very frankly surprised that Barnes and Nobles is still in business. But I think they have a different strategy than Borders did. You know, they have so many integrations with Starbucks. So I think that's one of the things that helps to keep foot traffic coming in to the store. Plus, they have a very big online presence and their own ecosystem as well. And they are a very trusted name. So when authors think about being published, they think about being featured in Barnes and Nobles, having one of those, big table displays as soon as you walk into the store and, having authors events and going on a book tour. And they think that the traditional publisher puts all of this together for them. And all they have to do is sit down, write, turn over their manuscript, and they will be an overnight instant success. And as we get more into this article, we'll find out that, yeah, things don't always work out that way. Something to always keep in mind is that if somebody else is footing the bill, you have to play by their rules. And they are in it to get a profit, and they're not looking to give you the lion's share. They keep the lion's share. So let's go on. What traditional publishing really looks like in 2025. Oh, so I also wanted to say that sometimes, that allure and glamour of traditional publishing still lingers. It still feels prestigious, but it's so important to take a look at what the reality is. And that's what Daniel is going to give us right now. What traditional publishing really looks like in 2025 and beyond. Well, I just added the beyond. Let me share some uncomfortable truths about the traditional publishing landscape that most industry insiders won't tell you. The money myth. That $50,000 advance you were dreaming about? It's largely fiction. Today's average advance hovers around $5,000 spread over 2 years. And remember, an advance isn't free money. It's a loan against your future royalties. So another pause. Uh, in the other half of my life, while one major part of my life is writing and writing books, the other part of my life is music. And eons ago, it feels like, I independently wrote, produced, and put out my own EP. I think it was back in 2001. And even then, I was very much about being independent because I knew the trappings of the music industry. And the publishing industry works very similarly. Just like how TLC told us years and years ago how they were broke, even though they were like the number one selling female group practically of all time. The same thing goes in publishing. You can get an advance, but your sales have to pay back that advance before you start earning royalties. And honestly, the only people who are going to be getting big advances are going to be people with a big name. Think celebrities or political figures. And many times, that's the only money that the people see from their book because the sales never got them to recouping. Okay, so keep that in mind as we keep going forward. So, like Daniel just said, that advance is a loan against your future royalties. On a $15 paperback, traditional authors typically earn $1 per sale. Yes, you read that correctly. $1. The time reality. I recently saw an author celebrating on LinkedIn because she'd secured a publishing contract. Now, that always feels good because it's like, yay, they like me and they want to invest in me. And it does feel good to be chosen and selected. However, Daniel continues, her book's release date, spring 2027. That's not a typo. That's the new normal. It's literally 2 years away from today. Then there's the control issue. Here's where it gets painful. I've worked with authors who discovered their books were bestsellers in international markets only to learn they'd unknowingly signed away those rights. The profits all going to their publisher. Yet again, another parallel to the music industry. It is all about those publishing rights. And if you know anything about the drama with streaming, with platforms like Spotify and Apple and how they pay, all the money goes to the record labels. It does not go to the artists. Just type it into the search here in YouTube and you will find plenty of people breaking it down. Another author couldn't even promote her own book because the publisher retained exclusive marketing rights, then did zero marketing themselves. So I also know of someone who is, let's say they are related to someone pretty famous. They got a 3-book deal because they also had their own podcast. So they had their own audience. But they didn't really do much to market the book because they assumed that the author would just share the book with their audience and that the sales would just pour in. But it doesn't work that way. Even when you have an established audience, you cannot assume that everyone in your audience is going to buy. Some most certainly will be your earliest supporters and will help with those earliest sales. But you have to do more marketing and do it consistently over time in order to see the sales that you want to see. And now Daniel gets into the independent publication revolution. While traditional publishing has become more restrictive, independent publishing has exploded with opportunity. Here's what the numbers actually look like. Royalty comparison. Traditional publishing, 7 to 15% of net, roughly $1 on a $15 book. Independent publishing, 35 to 70%, up to $3.50 on a $5 book. Speed comparison. Traditional, 12 to 14 months to publication. Independent, 1 to 6 weeks once content is ready. Control comparison. Traditional, publisher decides everything. Independent, you decide everything. The team building secret no one talks about. The biggest misconception about independent publishing is that self-published means doing everything yourself. Successful independent authors don't do everything alone. They build teams. Instead of asking, how do I design a cover? Ask, who can design my cover? Instead of, how do I format my book? Ask, who specializes in book formatting? This mindset shift changes everything. So he goes into a few other questions that you could and should definitely review on your own. But I just want to read this one other section here. The path forward. The authors who thrive in today's market share one common trait. They make informed decisions based on their specific goals, not industry mythology. Some authors genuinely prefer the traditional route despite its limitations. They value the perceived prestige and are willing to accept lower royalties and less control for that validation. Others discover that independent publishing aligns perfectly with their entrepreneurial spirit and income goals. Neither choice is inherently right or wrong, but making the choice without understanding all the implications is a mistake that costs authors millions of dollars collectively each year. And so Daniel goes on and offers a few other pointers and tips that you definitely should check out. I've never worked with him before, but he does provide some resources and the opportunity to work with him. Now, as I said, I am team independent. And in this video, I break down some of the top reasons why I'm selling my books direct to consumer. Royalties is definitely one of them, but there's some other considerations that you might want to think about yourself. So click on this video now, and I'll see you on the other side.